What's up, guys? Welcome back to the PL pod right here on YouTube. I am Daniel and we are back with another week and another podcast. This isn't a podcast, I'm well aware of that. This week I tried to upload the first PL pod onto Spotify, however we encountered some difficulties with that, so I decided that instead of doing one long podcast, I did record the podcast to go up on Spotify and it was a shambles. I listened back to it this morning as of recording. We're recording this Tuesday night. Listened back to it this morning as of recording and it was an absolute shambles. I spoke absolute waffle for 50 minutes. So I thought instead of making you sit through that, I would record 3 videos to go up today, as if you're listening to this on Wednesday, Friday and Monday when the usual videos would go out. Instead of one long podcast, we'll do 3 videos and you can enjoy them instead. So that's why there's no podcast. I do apologise there's no long podcast this week. I do still have the podcast saved on my computer. However, it's pure waffle. And I don't think anybody wants to sit through that. I was absolutely knackered when recording it. And as I say, it's just an absolute shambles. So we're here to talk about what's going on at Chelsea instead. Before we do get into the video though, this is the first thing that's going out that I've recorded since the death of Queen Elizabeth. So I just wanted to give my best wishes to the royal family after such a loss. Queen Elizabeth was an incredible queen. And my thoughts are with the royal family at this time. And now it's time to move on to Thomas Tuchel being sacked by Chelsea. Thomas Tuchel has been sacked by Chelsea, for those of you that did not know. It was last week after the Zagreb game that Todd Boehly decided that it was finally time to relieve Thomas Tuchel of his duties in charge of Chelsea Football Club. This had been going on for a little while. I think Tuchel, there were issues with Tuchel. Tuchel had a lot going on in his personal life, first of all, currently going through a divorce with his soon-to-be ex-wife, and that probably didn't help things in the situation. Football-wise, Tuchel also was not happy with his new role that he had in transfers. He was being asked for his opinion on a lot more transfers, and it didn't seem like he wanted to be. You know, he's a head coach, he's not a manager. And he was appointed to be a head coach. He wasn't appointed to be a manager. So he wasn't expecting to have that job, really, of having to manage the transfers that came in. And Boehly did want his opinion on a lot of those transfers. So that could explain one reason as to why Tuchel has, in fact, moved on. It was a sacking at the end of the day. And Chelsea's form this season had not been good enough. You know, they'd lost some big games. They obviously lost to Leeds 3-0 and they'd lost to Zagreb as well. 2 poor results from Chelsea and 2 poor performances from Chelsea as well. However, if you ask many of the Chelsea base, if you ask many of the Chelsea fan base, and I did, reach out to a couple of people before recording this, they all say, it was a massive shock. Yes, you could have seen Tuchel going at some point this season. Boehly being a new man to come into Chelsea, you could have 100% seen, Tuchel leaving / being sacked at some point this season for Boehly to bring in his own man. However, the timing of it didn't seem quite right. Boehly has confirmed that him and Tuchel had different ideas about where the club wanted to go, about the direction the club was going in, which was a reason that he sort of, stated as for sacking the German. However, it still does seem to be a massive shock. And one thing I want to put to people, and get in the comments down below and let me know what you think of this. Why have they done it right after the window's closed? Because they've brought in they've spent a lot of money. Carney Chukwuemeka, Gabriel Slonina, 2 players for the future. I get Cassidy as well. But Fofana, Koulibaly, Sterling, Cucurella. Obviously, Potter will be a fan of Cucurella and we'll get on to Potter in a second. But it doesn't make sense how Boehly's done this. Boehly doesn't have much of a past in football, and it's clear to see with this decision. Was it the right decision? We're going to have to find out about that. However, the timing of it doesn't make much sense to me. And I feel like I'm going through massive deja vu because I've already talked about this before. But it's a classic thing when it comes to Chelsea with sacking their managers. Chelsea fans aren't shocked that a manager's been sacked when a lot of the fans would have wanted to keep him. Tuchel won this side the Champions League. And while maybe recent performances hadn't been there, they'd slipped from being one of the best defences in Europe and didn't have the attack to make up for that. But it's weird. It's very weird how Tuchel has gone here. Because as I say, it doesn't make sense. The timing of it doesn't make any sense at all. And I am shocked. I am shocked, to be honest, that Tuchel has been sacked by Bowley. You know, will Aubameyang suit Graham Potter? Aubameyang was obviously a Thomas Tuchel signing, regardless of if Tuchel wanted this involvement or not. Aubameyang was clearly a Tuchel signing. Will Graham Potter use Aubameyang loads? I'm not sure. I can imagine one of the things when Potter was interviewed for the job would have been, can you work with the group of players you've got? And obviously I presume he would have said yes for this. But will Aubameyang suit Potter? Will some other players? Will Sterling suit Potter? We'll move on to Potter, but before we do, I do just want to touch on Tuchel and where we could go next. I know this video is about Chelsea, but I do want to touch on Tuchel because he will have a lot of options. Things aren't going well at Juve at the moment under Max Allegri. I could see him possibly moving there. There's been rumours linking him with Bayern and to replace Nagelsmann. Could see him possibly going there. And there possibly will be a job in the Premier League come up. Would he be interested in taking a Leicester City? I don't think he would. But if an offer like a Wolves or West Ham were to come up, would he maybe consider that? Possibly. I could easily see him wanting to manage, you know, not a lesser side, but a side that isn't possibly competing for the big targets all the time, especially how he's been treated at Chelsea and PSG, so that he can be adored by fans. He can be adored by every fan, adored by every player, and get the treatment that he rightly deserves. So I could see Tuchel possibly going for a lower job offer. However, I do think he's got Juve written all over him. Graham Potter, though. Now, Potter's obviously signed for Chelsea as their new manager, replacing Thomas Tuchel. I'm unconvinced on this appointment. We'll move on to what's actually happened here in a second, but I'm unconvinced on the appointment of Potter. He's done incredible things with Brighton. I believe it was Östersunds, is it? Where he was beforehand. Obviously being at Swansea as well. Potter is a good manager. And, you know, I feel like for maybe like a West Ham. I know West Ham have got Moyes at the moment. But West Ham or Wolves or Leicester would have done incredible things. But it's a very big step up to go from Brighton to Chelsea. He's got a lot more names in that Chelsea squad than he did at Brighton. He didn't really have any names. You know, I get players would have moved for big money, but he didn't have any names when they came in particularly. Yeah, I get, you know, there's people like Neil Maupay there and things like that, but they're not the names that you're going to walk into at Chelsea when you've got, you know, Raheem Sterling, Wesley Fofana, anyone in that Chelsea squad, N'Golo Kante, Jorginho, Kepa, anyone. All names. And I'm not sure if it's going to work from there. I like his football, you know, the high tempo, high pressing style. I think that's a really good thing for Chelsea. Obviously, Potter does also play three at the back. And this was obviously something that Roman was looking for. Roman? Flipping out. This was obviously something that Bowley was looking for when he appointed that new manager. Because they brought a lot of centre-backs this summer. You know, they brought Koulibaly, they brought Fofana. They were looking to get Guardiola in. I'm unconvinced on Potter, and I hope he proves me wrong. So I really do like Potter as a manager, and obviously, you know, young English manager, it's always nice to see. However, I'm unconvinced, and I need to see something. I need to see it all come together because I'm not sure if he can manage those egos. One thing I also did want to touch on is how managers are now starting to take players with them when they go to places. And could Chelsea possibly raid Brighton? Now you look at that Brighton squad, and there's one big player from Brighton I could see Potter trying to bring with him. And that is Moises Caicedo. As of recording this, it was either today or yesterday that I think it was The Athletic that reported that N'Golo Kante had rejected a contract offer from Chelsea, with Fabrizio Romano then continuing to back this up, saying that, you know, he won't sign, they're not close to agreeing a deal. N'Golo Kante's got 1 year left in his deal. Same with Jorginho. Again, there haven't really been many talks with Jorginho from what I've heard. Or at least there hasn't been a deal agreed. So that could be two big midfielders that move on. Caicedo's clearly had a very good start to the season. And I could see Potter trying to bring Moises Caicedo with him. So let me know what you think of that. Caicedo to Chelsea, is that one you could see? Let me know in the comments below. But I could see that one. The final thing I wanted to touch on was how long this has been in the works for. Now, as soon as Tuchel was sacked, Bodie went straight for Potter. And this is something that I've heard about through The Athletic that has been on the radar for a while. As soon as Bodie wanted Cucurella in the summer, when he started negotiating with Brighton, he seemed very clued up on Potter from what I've heard. And his philosophies and, how Cucurella would work, but also how Potter would work. It seems like Bodie has had his eye on Potter for an awful long time. Because, as I say, when he was negotiating with Brighton, he seemed very clued up on Potter's philosophies. And, his high-pressing style of football and all of this. It seems like he had done an awful lot of research when it came to Graham Potter. So that begs the question. At that point, seemingly, it looked like he'd found his man. So, I'll touch on it again. Why didn't they sack Tuchel earlier? Give Potter that summer to then bring in the people that he wants. I can't, they brought in Zachariah. That seems like such a rushed signing. I don't know if Potter will want him. Aubameyang, not a rushed signing. I know it's been planned for a while, but will Potter want him? Sterling, possibly. I'm sure Potter will want him. But again, you should have let Potter have that summer to bring in his own men. And, left things with Tuchel on mutual terms when Bodie came in and gone to get Potter then. Rather than, give Tuchel until the 6th? Was it the 6th? Was it the 7th? Was it the 8th? Whenever it was that Tuchel was sacked, a couple of days after the window had ended. You weren't expecting Tuchel to turn things around then at that point, were you? I do think things are starting to go a little bit stale with Tuchel. But you weren't expecting Tuchel to turn things around clearly. You weren't, because you didn't want him to almost. You didn't give him the time to be able to turn things around. You just went, this isn't working anymore, yeah, you can go. It was in a 10-minute phone call that Thomas Tuchel was sacked, in which Tuchel begged to be given another chance from what I've heard. Yeah, Bodie just said no. It seems as if Bodie's mind had already been made up and he was just looking for an excuse to sack Tuchel. And that is what's going on with Chelsea Football Club. Thank you all for watching the video. I don't usually get to do outros like this, so thank you very much. We'll have 2 more videos coming out for the rest of the week before normal service hopefully resumes next week. Possibly on Spotify, possibly not. If you want details on what's going on with that, go and check out the Instagram as well. I'll be updating people if things are going on Spotify, if they're back on YouTube. Daniel Talks Football on Instagram, so go follow me there and I can be giving you the updates as to what's going on. Before we did round off, actually, I did just want to say thank you. Last week I uploaded a video on Nottingham Forest and the signings that they'd made. All 21 signings at the time of recording. It was 22 obviously later on with Oreo being announced. That video achieved over 500 views, and for someone that's been doing this for 5 or 6 weeks, that's absolutely incredible. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for all the support. And yeah, we will leave things there, and I'll catch you all again in the next video. See ya!